Hello, this is Act 2, Scene 3 of Richard II. Use this video to follow the plot, follow some of the language choices, and make sure you know what's going on. Knowing the plot, always the most important thing. So, I'm going to start with this box here, because it tells us an awful lot of essential information that makes life reasonably straightforward. In contrast to the stasis, the sort of inactivity, stuckness, stasis, and despair that we saw in Act 2, Scene 2, this one is full of movement, desire, aspiration. Shakespeare makes even busier Holinshed's account of the busy travels of those who are flocking to Bolingbroke's cause. At the start of the scene, Bolingbroke and Northumberland are journeying through the Cotswolds near Shakespeare's hometown of Stratford, from Ravenspur, near present-day Hull, to Berkeley Castle in Gloucestershire. The ease of his Bolingbroke's, this is political ascendancy, his movement upwards to ascend, is sealed by his confrontation with York, who, after a bout of ineffectual verbal resistance, ends up inviting the rebels to spend the night at Berkeley Castle. So let's show you a map of England firstly, so we can see just how easy their movement has been. So present-day Hull is about here, a bit closer, and they have moved from Humberside, which these days would just be known as Yorkshire, all the way down to here, Gloucestershire. So Stratford upon Avon is in Warwickshire, this county here. They've travelled the best part of 180, 200 miles, you know, and it's been very, very easy. So a really strong demonstration of the ease with which Bolingbroke can move around the country because people admire him and admire his cause. But it's maybe admiration. It could also just be they don't like the current king. And so somebody there to remove him isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. We get ambivalence. People shrug their shoulders and go, oh well. Equally, many, if not the vast majority, would simply have not been all that aware of what was going on. We don't have newspapers. We don't have huge amounts of sort of news being passed from person to person. It's a sort of smaller world. So let's go back to the script, and we see that Bolingbroke and Northumberland are on the stage, and the rest of the scene follows this pattern. So Bolingbroke and Northumberland make a straightforward journey. Discussed that bit already. We're going to come across the character Harry Percy, the son of Northumberland, and he will tell Bolingbroke and Northumberland something that we already know, which is about the defection of the Duke of Worcester. Significant moment will be that Harry Percy will swear allegiance to Bolingbroke, and Bolingbroke will say, he says, I'll look after you. In the fullness of time, you'll be rewarded. Significant mainly because of what happens in history, where Percy and Northumberland, so son and father, Northumberland father, Percy the son, will eventually come to rebel against Bolingbroke. That will be the makings of Henry IV, great Henry IV. The Duke of York will emerge from Berkeley Castle, and effectively Bolingbroke will persuade him to the extent that he allows them to stay over. So a sure sign that while York will claim that he is neutral in allowing them to stay for the night and their army, it's not a neutral act. So let's have a look at the scene in a little bit more detail. How far is it? Northumberland? Don't know really. I'm from Northumberland, effectively. I'm from all the way up here. I'm really quite far away from home. It's effectively what he reveals, but So I don't really know these wild hills and rough uneven ways, and yet it's been like sugar, making the hard way sweet and delectable. It's been surprisingly easy. So if we move on, the weary lords shall make their way seem short as mine hath done by sight of what I have done, your noble company. So being with you has made it an easy journey. Oh, you're too kind. Of less value is my company than your good words. Oh, who is this? It's my son. So he announces the news about Worcester, which is that he has defected. And as we move on, he says as much. Because you, your lordship, was proclaimed traitor. So because you were proclaimed a traitor, and Worcester is your brother, that's why he has defected. But he, my lord, is gone to Ravenspur to offer service to the Duke of Hereford. They say Hereford, we might say Hereford, and sent me over by Berkeley to discover what power the Duke of York had levied there, then with directions to repair to Ravenspur. So Percy has been sent to go and scout, to reconnoitre, to look at the Duke of York's army. What has he managed to get together? The answer will be not very much, but still. Northumberland explains this is the Duke. So Percy, his son, and Bolingbroke have never met. You can see the note that it's drawing you to at the bottom right, as he makes clear in the following lines. So down here, look at the mouses. Percy has never met Bolingbroke. The misunderstanding, which can get a laugh, provides a character note for the irreverent Percy. As it says, their paths will cross again in future plays. Let's move on. And what we have here is the swearing of allegiances. Northumberland then enters, sorry, say that again, Ross and Willoughby then enter, so more lords who are loyal to Bolingbroke, they are loyal to Bolingbroke because in many respects they're disloyal to Richard. So there's always this dilemma of, well, you know, are the other powerful gentlemen of the land, do they actually admire and value Bolingbroke, or is he just a mechanism to rid them of a king that they really don't value very much at all? A question for you on the right hand side: when have we seen Ross and Willoughby before? Here come the lords of Ross and Willoughby, bloody with spurring, fiery red with haste. Bolingbroke welcomes them. Why are they so important? Because they bring money, they bring wealth. Bolingbroke thanks them. He says, evermore thanks, the exchequer of the poor. All I can give you is a thank you because I don't have any wealth. I don't have any nice things to actually give you, which till my infant fortune comes to years stands for my bounty. So Berkeley then enters. Bolingbroke says, my answer is to Lancaster, and I am come to seek that name in England, and I must find that title in your tongue before I make reply to aught you say. So he has inherited the title of Lancaster. That was his father's title, John of Gaunt. He was the Duke of Lancaster. So we're kind of sowing the seeds here for the future discord known as the War of the Roses, the civil war between the House of Lancaster and the House of York, symbolised through the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York. So Berkeley is sent out to see what is going on, to see who is there, and then York then enters. This is the kind of key element of this scene, really. Enter York. Bolingbroke kneels. Why does he kneel? It's an act of deference. Maybe it's a a sign of respect, how much he loves his uncle. Maybe, if we're being cynical, it's a sure sign of a canny political operator. Bolingbroke maybe is doing what he needs to do to get his uncle on side. It's an act of manipulation. So I think both arguments have some merit. York says, "Show me thy humble heart and not my knee, whose duty is deceivable and false." I don't believe that you're taking the knee, that you are bowing to me, or I don't believe that you're actually deferential to me. I think that you want something, is the implication. My gracious uncle. Grace me no grace, nor uncle me no uncle. Quite a famous line. But the interruption is significant because it indicates that at this particular moment York is in charge. He has the authority to silence his nephew, the man who would be king. But the line, "Grace me no grace, nor uncle me no uncle." I don't need your sweet nothings. I don't need your nice words. I don't buy it. I am no traitor's uncle, and that word "grace" is in an ungracious mouth is but profane. It's vulgar if you don't mean it. Why have those banished and forbidden legs dared once to touch a dust of England's ground? Why have you come back? But then more why? Why have they dared to march so many miles upon her peaceful bosom, frighting her pale-faced villages with war and ostentation of despised arms? Comest thou because the anointed king is hence? Did you come because the king is gone? Why, foolish boy, the king is left behind, and in my loyal bosom lies his power. There's an implication of threat here, which is the king is not here, but the king is here. He's given me the power. Were I but now the lord of such hot youth, as when brave Gaunt, your father, and myself rescued the Black Prince, that young Mars of men, from forth the ranks of many thousand French, oh, then how quickly should this arm of mine, now prisoner to the palsy, chastise thee and minister correction to thy fault. If I were young, he says, I'd whip you, I'd beat you. Your father and I, who once rescued the Black Prince, when we were young, we were so powerful, we were so dominant that we rescued the Black Prince from the French. We'd give you an absolute beating. But now I can't do it because I'm old. I'm a prisoner to the palsy, he says. Bolingbroke, my gracious uncle. So he's been told, uncle me no uncle me and grace me no grace. At least he does it again anyway. He's clever. He understands how you go about getting people on your side. Let me know my thoughts. Tell me the truth. I'm prepared to accept your words, he says. Again, it's really quite smart. You deflect another person's anger by accepting that they're right to be angry. You disarm them. Even in condition of the worst degree, engrossed rebellion and detested treason. You are a banished man, and here you are, before the expiration of your time, in braving arms against thy sovereign. So you're here. That's the problem. And Bolingbroke's long speech here is an important one because it's a demonstration of his eloquence. It's a demonstration of maybe the fact that this is a kind of rehearsed speech, that it's something he's thought of for a long time, and it's a real demonstration of his persuasive powers. He says, "As I was banished, Hereford, that was my name, but I come for Lancaster. I come for the title that my father had." Effectively, he's saying that that's what I should be. It's my rightful possession. "And, noble uncle, I beseech your grace, look on my wrongs with an indifferent eye. Don't be unkind. You are my father. You are my father, for methinks in you I see old Gaunt alive." Wow. Manipulative. Clever. He says that I see you as my father figure. With my father dead, you are my father figure. And we saw that's a really flattering description for York because we saw the wisdom of Gaunt, a powerful man with great means, great wealth, who issued that curse to the king before dying. it's a really sort of savvy, clever bit of wordsmithery. Oh then, my father, will you permit that I shall stand condemned, a wandering vagabond, my rights and royalties plucked from my arms perforce and given away to upstart unthrifts? Why was I born? Wherefore was I born? Why was I born? If that my cousin king be king in England, it must be granted I am Duke of Lancaster. You have a son, or Merle, my noble cousin. Had you first died, and he been thus trod down, he should have found his uncle Gaunt a father to rouse his wrongs and chase them to the bay. If you had died before my father, or Merle would have found Gaunt to be his father figure, who would have looked out for his interests. So Bolingbroke is saying, uncle, father, look out for my interests. That's what my father would have done. So it's quite a strong case. As you can see on the right hand side, the question says York is uncle to both Richard and Bolingbroke. What should he do? Is it a strong enough case? So he's using kind of manipulation of family ties, but also what is rightfully his. If the king is the king by rights, then I am Lancaster by rights, and he has taken that from me. Moving on. I am denied to sue my livery here, and yet my letters and patents give me leave. So I'm not allowed to live here, but my title means that I'm allowed. My father's goods are all distrained and sold, and these are all amiss employed. Richard has taken Gaunt's wealth and used it to fund a pointless army in Ireland. It's wrong, it's immoral. What would you have me do? I am a subject and I challenge law. What would you have me do? I am a subject and I challenge law. Attorneys are denied me, and therefore personally I lay my claim to my inheritance of free descent. Then his pals chip in, you know, he deserves it. It's rightfully his. He's been made to suffer. York, my lords of England, we're here. Let me tell you this. I have had feeling of my cousin's wrongs, the king he's referring to, and Bolingbroke. I've had feeling of their wrongs, sorry, it's Bolingbroke's wrongs, and laboured all I could to do him right. I tried, but in this kind to come, coming here and braving arms, be his own carver and cut out his way to find out right with wrong, it may not be. So I feel for Bolingbroke, but coming here and trying to fight, that's not how you do it. You can't fight out right with wrong. You who help him, you who abet him in this kind, cherish rebellion and are rebels all. So York is scathing towards the other gentleman. Northumberland obviously responds, the noble Duke hath sworn his coming is but for his own, and for the right of that, we all have strongly sworn to give him aid, and let him never see joy that breaks that oath. So Northumberland says that Bolingbroke is there just to get the title of Lancaster, as the question on the right-hand side says. Do we really believe that Bolingbroke just wants the title of Lancaster? Do we really believe that Northumberland feels so powerfully and passionately about this that he's there to help him just get the title of Lancaster back? I'm not so sure. Well, I see the issues of these arms. I cannot mend it. I must needs confess, because my power is weak and ill left. But if I could, by him that gave me life, I would attach you all and make you stoop unto the sovereign mercy of the king. But since I cannot, be it known unto you, I do remain as neuter. What might neuter suggest? Well, it's down there on the right, at the bottom. Neutral. He's unwilling to acknowledge that he has definitively changed sides. Yeah, to allow the Bolingbroke and Northumberland faction to stay at the castle that he is, in theory, protecting, and raising an army at is not a neutral act. This is a mealy-mouthed excuse for bowing to pressure. Now, maybe he bows to the pressure of Bolingbroke's persuasive argument. So maybe he allows them to stay because he believes the words that have come out of Bolingbroke's mouth. Or maybe he's just seen that this isn't a war that they're going to win because he doesn't have an army. They have an army. Maybe it's a mealy-mouthed act of self-preservation. So it's not a neutral act, far from it. So fare you well, so goodbye. Unless you want to stay in the castle and rest for the night, repose is rest. Come on, not exactly a neutral act. Bolingbroke, thank you, uncle, we will accept. But we must win your grace to go with us to Bristol Castle, which they say is held by Bushy Bagot and their accomplices, the caterpillars of the Commonwealth, which I have sworn to weed and pluck away. Interesting. What do you think this imagery suggests? What is a caterpillar? What does a caterpillar sort of change into? Why must he pluck them away? Why must he prevent those caterpillars becoming anything else? What would be the problems? So Bolingbroke has said, hopefully we can win you round so you'll join us and come with us as we head to Bristol Castle. York, I may go with you, but yet I'll pause, for I am loath to break our country's laws. Nor friends nor foes to me welcome you are. Things past redress are now with me past care. So I'll come with you, maybe, maybe not. I don't want to break the laws. You're not friends or foes, but I can't do anything about it. Is this true? York, if he felt so passionately about the law, he could die for it. But he's not really that passionate about the law. So his actions are arguably weak, arguably rather smart. It all depends on the strength of one's beliefs, I suppose. Maybe, more than anything, it's a demonstration of how it's the family ties between each of these men, York, Bolingbroke and Richard, uncle and nephews, which makes it a difficult dilemma. He's related to them both. He has feelings for them both, and I mean feelings in the sense of loyalty because of who they are, and that makes it a rather challenging position all around. So that's Act 2, Scene 3. Hopefully you found that a reasonably useful sort of talk through each part of the scene. The main thing is, as you're reading the text, make your annotations, ensure that you're following the plot, because I'll keep saying it, knowing the plot is the most important thing. That's it. Until the next time, bye-bye.